Thank you, David. And the Czech rugby national team is probably even less known than Ben's group, band. So I won't hold you to it. But they're okay with the quick. Here we go. So, good afternoon, everyone. I feel very privileged to be here, and it's been a bit of a pinch me moment when I walked in and I saw, there's Reporoa on the banner of Gas New Zealand, and there's another biogas plant over there, and I feel like we've gone a long way as a sector, the biogas sector especially, and I'm going to shamelessly hijack this stage and thank one person in particular who is here with us today. Where's he gone? Brian Cox. Has he escaped? He was here just a minute ago. Is he there? So Brian is the Chief Executive of Bioenergy Association New Zealand, and he's been with the association for probably the best part of 25 years, tirelessly working on promoting biogas. And I would like you to help me acknowledge Brian. Brian's been my mentor for the last 10 years, and I owe him a great deal for being actually here and being able to talk about Ecogas. So thank you, Brian. So onto the slide. Sorry, this has been a bit emotional, but what we're going to be talking here about is bringing biogas into New Zealand. So we've heard about the why. We're running out of gas and we need gas. We've heard about what. We need alternative supplies of gas. So we're going to be talking about the how here. And thanks to Ecogas and Clarus, we can actually tell you the real life experience on bringing renewable gas into the country. So the successful anaerobic digestion and biogas project, they've got three components. They've got the feedstock supply, they've got the anaerobic digestion plant in the middle, and then they've got the outputs, the product. And out of the three, the piece in the middle is actually the easiest one. We've got tens of thousands of plants around the world that we can learn from. That technology is well and truly well done and well understood. So it is really about securing a long-term feedstock supply contract and making sure that we've got markets for the products that we generate. And so on the and then we've got the enablers and the obstacles. So what I mean by enablers, we've got at the national level, legislation and government support could be a real enabler, or the lack of legislation and government support could be a real obstacle. So as we have seen here, we've got one existing plant, whereas Europe has got 20,000 of these. And so there's something is missing here, right? And we haven't been able to fully appreciate the potential of biogas as alternative supply of gas. And at the regional level, it's more about the quality and the availability of the feedstock, and then the quality of the products that we'll be generating and how they fit within the region. On the economic case, and Ben has touched on it, it's majority of the biogas developments around the world have been propped by subsidies and incentives for the production of renewable energy, and that taken away of the feedstock side of things. So if you get stacks of money for the energy you produce, your business cases could literally stand on those alone. And that's been the majority of the global development. In New Zealand, we've had it slightly differently. So most of the demand for renewable energy in our country has been satiated by the production of highly renewable electricity. And it's been only in the last 5-10 years maybe where we started looking at other energies and renewable energies. And this is where, the ignorance of the gas connection with electricity, we've heard a lot about it this morning. So in New Zealand, as it stands right now, the business case for a successful anaerobic digestion plant will stand largely on the feedstock and the price we can charge for the feedstock, so that is a gate fee. And unfortunately, the feedstock. Sorry, I'm going to tee up James a little bit here. The one country that got it quite well balanced is actually Denmark. And James will tell you about how far Denmark has taken it. But what they have done is basically they recognized a looming an environmental problem for them in the food production sector, and they've addressed it with anaerobic digestion and biogas and put a lot of support behind it. But then they actually maximized the benefit of the technology and started promoting the use of the biogas for first electricity and then for biomethane production. And now they're on to the next thing with Power-to-X or the next big thing. So Denmark has absolutely nailed it. So that's the holy grail that we hold in the biogas industry, and something we could aspire to, right? I feel like as a country, we don't actually learn enough from what other countries are doing. And it's the discussion this morning about what the government is doing. Who are we looking at? Who are we looking to learn from? Surely we're not the only ones dealing with this. Are we actually talking to other countries? Are we looking at other governments, what they are doing? So that's my question to the industry. And so there are a few components that can sort of help us, push us along the way. Carbon is one of them, and the price of carbon, I haven't heard mentioning it here, but the price of carbon is going to go up. And the EU is projecting that by 2040, the price of carbon is going to be like 400 euros. And there is now a carbon pricing cross-border mechanism now that our exporters exporting into the European markets will have to pay that price for carbon. So this is coming at us whether we want it or not. And we seem to be ignoring that fact a little bit. So the price of carbon is going to play on both sides of the equation. It's going to push the cost of landfills up because they are having to pay carbon, and that's part of the ETS scheme. But it will also increase the value of our product, being the fertilizer and the biogas, because they both compete with fossil-derived products. So the price of those components is gonna go up. So what that's gonna do, it's gonna lift the business cases, and it's gonna shrink the minimum viable size of a biogas project, and make it more doable on a regional scales. So at the moment we need stacks of feedstock to actually make a viable business case. If we can elevate the business case, we can shrink the minimum viable size. I hope I'm explaining this well enough, but bear with me. Look at that. Obviously legislation, that goes without saying. If we can, what we actually need is just a commitment from the government that they take biogas as part of the strategy. We've got the carbon certificates now. All of these things are the market's response to the demand. So the market is responding, and so what we need is the acknowledgement that this biogas is part of the strategy, and that will incentivize enough investment to go forward. And then partnerships. We are a living example of what partnerships could deliver. Ecogas is a partnership between two companies, but we've also partnered with Clarus to deliver the first biomethane plant. We've partnered with multiple sectors. Brave Trace have been amazing with us, and they spent the best part of 2 years trying to educate me about how to count carbon. But it's incredible partnership there as well. So any emerging sector will tell you that it needs the whole village to actually bring something like this to life. So, and we are really grateful for that. So taking stock, although the signature on the new waste strategy that would essentially mandate diversion of organic waste from landfill is not there yet. It was almost there with the previous government. It's not there yet now. So that's missing. But what we are seeing is a great response from the market, especially the overseas exporters and overseas headquartered companies that are having to meet their carbon targets. They are seriously looking at what's happening with their waste, and they are starting to look for other options. So the response to Reporoa and Ecogas has been really, really encouraging from commercial sector. The Bioenergy Association established a biofertilizer accreditation scheme. So it's essentially validating the digestate, the liquid fertilizer product coming out of these facilities as a fertilizer. And so that's gonna open up the market for the biofertilizer as well. So the next one is James is going to talk about the gas injection standard. So I'm not going to steal the thunder there. And but the industry collaboration as well is a big part. And I can feel the vibe around this room that people do want to collaborate. They want to make it viable and make it happen. And I mentioned the cross-border pricing mechanism for carbon that's coming our way as well. And so, but about Reporoa. So we're 3 days away from our second anniversary from the official opening. So quite a big day. 2 years into it, still here, which is just really an achievement. And I would probably describe the last 2 years as one motto that describes it as, if you know the why, you will always figure out the how. So it wasn't an easy 2 years, but we got here. And what I'm very proud to say is that the Reporoa plant is very close to reaching its capacity, and we are working on plans to expanding that. So, and that's on the back of the response from the market. So, amazing achievement. We were fortunate enough to secure the next project in Christchurch with Christchurch Council, and so we are. If all our forecasts are right, we will be able to service half of New Zealand's population by 2026 with our service. And that's just the households. So together with that, we've got all the industries that are coming on board as well. Digestate has been a bit of a journey for us, but I'm proud to say that we've got 25 farmers in the Reporoa region that are enjoying the benefits of the product and are very quick to say that that's a fertilizer of choice right now. So that's been a massive success. And so the secret sauce, why, what's so special about Ecogas? And when I was interviewing for my job at Ecogas, I quizzed the directors on what made them join Ecogas, and every single one of them said because no one has ever done it before in New Zealand. And so that's the attitude we need here, right? We need the courage. We need the courage to, and if you really believe that this is the right thing, we can do it. So I will, at this point, hand you over to James. Thank you.
Thanks, Alzbeta. So for those who don't know me, I'm the General Manager of Future Fuels at Clarus. Clarus is a group of companies, probably best known for First Gas, the pipeline business, but the business I represent really here today is First Renewables, the newest member of the family. And First Renewables is in the business of developing renewable energy projects, both renewable gas and renewable power projects. And I'm very pleased to be talking about our first renewable gas project today. So first, biomethane. Well, firstly, what is it? Biomethane is upgraded biogas. Biogas is produced from things like anaerobic digestion. In fact, it's the decomposition of anything organic. And it's mainly methane and CO2, 50-50-ish. So if you're going to produce biomethane, you need to strip out the CO2 and any other contaminants to produce what is methane. And what's not to like about biomethane? It's exactly the same as natural gas, effectively. It goes in the pipes. It's compatible with all consumer appliances. Consumers don't know the difference. The only difference is, of course, the provenance of that, which is from a renewable source. And, it goes beyond that. So AD provides great benefits for agriculture. 90% of the stuff which goes into an AD facility comes out in the form of what is a rich organic fertilizer called digestate, which you can spread to fields and obviously avoids the use of synthetic fertilizers, etc. It's a responsible way of managing waste, but it also, as an added bonus, of course, produces this product biogas, which you can make good use of. In terms of the importance of potentially renewable pathways for consumers. So industry is those hard to abate sectors that Ben mentioned earlier. There are many industries which would really love to decarbonize but can't. They can't move away from gas or their other sources of energy because they need the attributes that it has. Either it's because of its high heat capacity, or perhaps you've got a facility which is in rural New Zealand, which the grid is weak. Grid upgrade costs are completely prohibitive. Maybe there's a gas boiler installed at your Fonterra plant per se, which has 15 years left on its life, and you want to get a return on that investment. There are many reasons why, particularly industrial consumers, cannot switch beyond away from natural gas, and if they're going to stay in business in New Zealand, of course we've seen some sad examples lately of businesses who haven't, then they're going to need a continued supply of gas. And if it's going to be renewable, then biomethane is a fantastic solution. Putting biomethane in the first gas and the gas pipeline network in general hasn't been completely seamless or straightforward. There's been changes needed. Although it's methane, it does have a few different characteristics, a few different attributes. In particular, the AD process introduces a little bit of oxygen. Not a lot, but it is a corrosion risk for pipeline networks, so that needs to be carefully managed. And we've navigated a careful process along with other industries of seeking changes to the natural gas standard, NZS 5442, which defines the specification of natural gas. It's now more explicit, includes a list of contaminants as well, allowed contaminants, which it didn't before. And that has been one of many steps which we've had to take to facilitate the introduction of biomethane into the pipeline network. So because this is a first of its kind project, we've had to break down a lot of barriers, overcome a lot of hurdles, and this is just one of those. In terms of the actual upgrading technologies, what does it take to upgrade biogas to biomethane? As I mentioned, you're primarily stripping out the CO2, as well as any other residual contaminants. Landfill gas is also effectively biogas. It just has more contaminants in it, so there's a bit more work to be done in terms of cleaning it up. There's sort of broadly two pools of technologies. One is kind of a dry method, so it's effectively separating based on molecular attributes, size of molecules. There's a CO2 from the methane, and examples of that are pressure swing absorption, which would be very familiar to any process engineers in the room. Another example, which is a bit newer, is membrane separation. That's actually the technology we landed on for upgrading plant. And then there's some wet processes, which effectively solubilize the CO2 into a liquid form and allow that to separate off the methane. That's the water wash technology and amine scrubbing. Water wash particularly is used quite prevalently in smaller scale biomethane upgrading plants in Europe and the UK, etc., because it's quite cheap, but it's not as energy efficient, and also in terms of the quality of upgrade, the number of contaminants, the purity of the methane which comes out of the process is not quite as good. So we've gone for membrane separation for New Zealand's first biomethane upgrading plant. You've seen this picture already, which Ben showed. So this is the upgrading facility at the back of the Ecogas plant. The two green containers there, one's a compressor, one's the membrane full of sort of tubes, which are the membranes, and then the very in fashion beige color pipework at the front there. That's the biomethane going towards the Broadlands delivery point, and then into the transmission network, which heads and feeds the Taupo region. And we're in the final stages commissioning this plant as we speak. Hasn't been seamless. There's been some challenges to overcome. We're bringing new technology to New Zealand, using new contractors, etc. So yeah, it hasn't been completely seamless, but we're nearly there, and we're very excited to be turning this on pretty soon. When we do, by our estimations, about a third, maybe 30% of the gas heading south to Taupo will be biomethane molecules. So that's quite a big transition at the flick of a switch, effectively. Just shows how this technology can support decarbonisation. And as Alzbeta mentioned, if you want a vision for what can be achieved, Denmark is a really great place to look. So in 2021, the Danish government mandated the transition to 100% biomethane in their gas pipes by 2030. They've gone from nothing to about 35% biomethane today in their pipes in the space of 8 years. And they actually expect to achieve that 100% target by about 2027, so only a few years' time now. Quite astonishing. Of course, that hasn't been without help. The government were very early advocate, moved and created a number of policy incentives around responsible organic waste management, as well as incentivizing through feed-in tariffs and other mechanisms the production of biomethane, which has allowed this to happen. And that 100% transition, I should add, has come with some decline in natural gas use as well. So there has been electrification, but there's still significant amount of natural gas use in Denmark. In terms of what we're doing here in New Zealand, so the Reporoa, the Broadlands biomethane upgrading facility, which we've been working with Ecogas on, is the first project that First Renewables have worked on in the renewable gas space. But we are developing a portfolio, a pipeline of other projects. Our handful of lead projects, which we're actively busy developing at the moment, total, around about 10% of New Zealand's domestic residential and commercial gas consumption. So although those sectors are not, as material as industry in gas consumption, that is still an indication of, it's not a negligible amount of renewable gas that we're looking at developing, and that's just the first stage. Alzbeta, do you want to take the takeaway? Okay. So, we've been really, really lucky to work with Ecogas on this first-of-a-kind project in New Zealand. It's not easy doing something for the first time in the country, and Ecogas's foresight in looking at AD and seeing an opportunity to develop that technology in New Zealand, the benefits it brings has been fantastic, and we've continued that on by developing New Zealand's first biomethane facility, which we're very excited about. It's good to understand, the broader benefits that particularly AD brings. There are other sources of organic waste as well. We're even looking at right now the possibilities for using crop residues and even purpose-grown rotational crops, which put carbon back in the soil and promote food production, but also can be used to put in AD as additional sources of potential feedstock for AD. AD will be a key enabler, not just for that responsible management of organic waste and the benefits that it brings in terms of the biofertilizer production, other things, but also biomethane production. But AD will be key to unlocking that. To make it happen, we need continued government support through supportive policies, and most importantly, collaboration amongst all stakeholders, be it industry participants, consumers, and developers, as well as policymakers. And the last point related to that is carbon prices. The ETS is really the only incentive right now for biomethane production. ETS prices are relatively low here in New Zealand at the moment. The ETS is the main mechanism which would reward that sort of green premium, if you like, for renewable gas production, which is key to unlocking more of these projects. I think that's all we had.
Fantastic. Thanks, team. Brilliant. Now you've actually managed to get a few questions through on Slido. But in the interest of time, we might just do the top two, skim those off the top. Sound good? So, Angela, Megan? Change just the...
So I think in Denmark, you always got really different farming practices than we have here. And so you're getting a lot of the manure concentrated really easily. So what would be the agricultural regulations that could be supportive and that you'd like to see to make sure that we're getting the nutrient runoff and the nutrients into biodigesters rather than into streams and waterways?
That's a really good point. In New Zealand, most of our cows are on fields, so we get a very small portion of the manure collected. But it's shaking his head. I can see it. So it's more about promoting the use of biofertilizer. So what I can see, and I think the World Biogas Association is starting to tap into it now, is mandating or having some sort of a target for replacing fossil-derived fertilizers by biofertilizers and digestate. So I think that's the thing that would come on board and enable it. In terms of, and I think Ben might have some thoughts about that as well, as tapping into agricultural waste for us is probably not feasible until the gas price goes, or the energy value goes right up. Because at that point we can start bringing in agricultural residues and the likes. At the moment, the gate fees are the limiting factor here, and we need a reasonable gate fee to make the business case. So I think we will have to come to it from the biofertilizer to digestate space, if anything.
Cool, thank you. What are 2 or 3 legislative/regulatory changes that, in brackets, don't cost the government money, that would accelerate the viability of renewable gas in New Zealand? So a shopping list, essentially, of policy, potentially?
Yeah, I've been asked this many times when I spoke to the different government bodies. Some kind of feed-in tariff or monetary reward would be lovely, but if that's off the table, it is breaking down those smaller barriers. So even consenting issues. Some of the projects, like the project we've done with Ecogas, happen to be located very nicely to pipeline networks. Others aren't. If you look at landfills, they don't tend to be. So you're looking at new pipes and other things, and that can be a really long process for resource consenting. So unblocking that process can be very helpful indeed. There's probably some smaller things as well, but I think that's probably the major one.
Cool, fantastic. Big round of applause.
Probably on the digester.
Yep.
I've done a couple of ideas. Finally, there's a couple of things that we could probably do quite easily, and at the moment there's no mechanism in the ETS to enable existing biogas producers, that being wastewater treatment plants and landfills, to use the biogas they generate in a beneficial way and claim the carbon credits or carbon benefits to offset their inherent emissions. So there's I'll call it tweak, I don't know how hard it is, tweak in the ETS scheme that would enable that, and that would immediately transfer 5 petajoules that is currently being flared or being converted to electricity into biomethane. So that's the one easy step we can do. And then the next one is more about the feedstock. So if we can start transitioning towards no organics going into landfills and having some sort of a transition into that, that's going to give the market the security of feedstock supply. So at the moment, landfills are owned by big corporates, and they own that space well and truly. So we're at the moment competing for the feedstock with these landfill operators, and for as long as this pathway remains open, that's going to be a battle, and it's going to be really challenging. So that's the sort of second lever I think the government could really swing. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Alzbeta and James.